African nations find themselves grappling with escalating costs and potential security threats arising from the recent conflict initiated by the Palestinian militant group Hamas against Israel. While no African countries have directly suffered casualties at this point, the repercussions manifest in heightened security risks, increased import costs, and mounting geopolitical pressures. Al-Shabaab, a Somali militant group, recently lauded Hamas for its attacks on Israel. Even though the two organizations lack direct ties, security experts warn of the possibility that both groups might opportunistically target East African installations to elevate their profiles and execute attacks. Dr. Rashid Abdi, a security researcher in the Horn of Africa, cautions against potential terrorist learning and copycat actions in response to the Israel-Hamas conflict. Hamas, considered a divisive militant group, claims to be freedom fighters in Gaza, but is labeled a terrorist organization by most Western nations. Their attacks on Israel are seen by some as a response to Israel's alleged violations of Palestinian rights, leading some to view their actions as heroic. This situation has the potential to incite acts of solidarity and support for Palestine within East Africa, potentially activating terror cells. Amid these complexities, Dr. Hawa Noor, an independent researcher, advises African nations, particularly Kenya, to maintain a low profile, promoting peace without aligning with any side. She underscores the polarized nature of the conflict and the impact of grievances related to the Palestinian issue in influencing some individuals to join militant groups. Past support for Israel has led to security challenges for Kenya, including attacks on Israeli-owned establishments. Consequently, Kenya's stance on the Israel-Hamas conflict is characterized by a desire for de-escalation and a return to the path of peace. Nations like Sudan, Djibouti, and South Africa have placed blame on Israel for radicalizing Palestinians due to its alleged continuous violations. Sudan, despite acknowledging Israel's sovereignty in 2021, has emphasized its support for Palestinian self-defense. The conflict can divert attention from Sudan's domestic issues, potentially worsening the crisis in the region. Murithi Mutiga, Africa Director at the International Crisis Group, emphasizes the economic consequences this conflict can have on countries that are primarily net importers, particularly in the face of rising energy costs. East Africa, projected to be the fastest-growing region on the continent, faces concerns from economists regarding the conflict's potential impact on the region. Dr. Samuel Nyandemo, a senior lecturer at the University of Nairobi's School of Economics, highlights the possibility of the US reducing its dollar flows to the Arab world, indirectly affecting Horn of Africa countries. In addition to higher production costs, African countries may encounter friction from their geopolitical alliances in supporting Israel. This scenario presents a challenge for African leaders, who are divided on the Israel-Palestine conflict, making it difficult to reach a consensus on the terminology used to describe the conflict. African leaders' statements range from labeling the conflict as terrorism to referring to it as hostilities. Kenya and Rwanda condemn it as an act of terror while also calling for de-escalation. However, the African Union takes a different stance, blaming Israel for the ongoing hostilities and emphasizing the need for a two-state solution. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict's impact on Africa has also sparked debates about Israel's influence on the continent. Israel enjoys recognition from a majority of AU member states and has a significant presence in Africa, but its observer status remains unconfirmed. This conflict has the potential to lead to higher inflation and interest rates in the region, largely due to the price hikes in energy products. The larger effects may include tensions between religious groups, given the central role of the conflict in Abrahamic religions. Ultimately, the economic and political impact on African nations will vary based on their ability to navigate the challenges posed by the Israel-Hamas conflict, in the opinion of Reginald Kadzutu, CEO at the asset management firm Amana Capital Limited. In the Gaza Strip, civilians are evacuating their homes in the northern regions due to Israeli warnings. The UN has urged Israel to withdraw this order, expressing concerns about the humanitarian consequences. The conflict has led to mass casualties, with Hamas taking hostages while Israel enforces a blockade. In conclusion, the Israel-Hamas conflict, though geographically distant from Africa, casts a significant shadow over the continent. African nations are faced with a complex web of challenges, from the potential for heightened security risks and increased import costs to the delicate balancing act of maintaining diplomatic relations in a polarized world. The conflict underscores the enduring nature of the Israeli-Palestinian issue as a driver for radicalization, while also highlighting the divisions within African leadership when it comes to their stance on the situation. The repercussions extend to economic concerns, with the risk of inflation and higher interest rates looming large. As we watch the developments unfold, the hope is that African countries will find a path towards resilience, stability, and continued growth, safeguarding the well-being of their citizens in the face of global upheaval. That's all for today's video, and I hope you enjoyed it. If so, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more engaging content.